I'll be doing a live demo of this in a bit, so make sure you've got your phones ready. Okay, so title of my talk, From Living Room to Literature, Faking New Age Wisdom, Story of Wisdom of Chopra. Now, do people know who Deepak Chopra is? Am I pressing the right button, or is it? There, okay. Right, so Deepak Chopra, he was mentioned in Mike's talk. He's kind of, if you don't know who he is, he is a legitimate doctor. He's got a perfectly good medical doctorate. He's into sort of Indian Ayurvedic medicine, I think that's how you pronounce that. He's into sort of like lots of new age stuff. He mentions quantum mechanics quite a lot, but not in a way that, say, Brian Cox would understand it, but more in sort of just putting the word quantum in for a laugh, really. And you could say the same thing about what he thinks about consciousness. So he has written a lot of books, and within all of his books you will find many pages, and on those pages you will find many words. He's written over 50 books, and they're all about all sorts of things, mostly health, and he is on Oprah Winfrey quite a lot, very big in America. Like I say, he's a multi-millionaire. He first appeared on Oprah promoting his, what you might call his breakthrough book, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind, the Quantum Alternative to Growing Old. And there he is there in 1993, and that's what he looks like now.
Can I just ask if you've read any of his books?
I have not brought myself to read any of his books, no. So, do you think that Deepak Chopra has the ability to defy the aging process using quantum powers? Well, I'll let you look at those two images and I'll let you decide. But the answer is no. So, on Twitter, on Twitter, he is quite prolific, especially with anything tagged cosmic consciousness. So he will say things like, and you can check this out on Twitter now if you want, he'll say things like, our perception is a species experience, not fundamental reality, which is formless being. Fundamental reality is a field of infinite possibilities in a formless void. It is also your core being. Does that mean anything to anyone yet? So whilst I was on Twitter and I was reading all of his tweets, I can't remember who it was, but someone tweeted, is Deepak Chopra just like taking a series of random words and sticking them together to make stuff that sounds profound? And I thought, I'm a web developer, I could put that to the test. So I made a site called wisdomofchopra.com. So if people have got their phones, I'd like you to go to wisdomofchopra.com. And what that does is it takes words that you'll find in his Twitter feed and it puts them together in a grammatically correct order. So I'll give you one and you can just compare it to these ones. Where is it? There it is. The cosmos fascinates mortal possibilities. Now, does that mean anything to anyone? Could anyone tell the difference between that and one of these? Has anyone got one that they'd like to offer?
The physical world quiets incredible brains.
There you go. Getting the word brains in there.
I agree with that as well, actually.
Anyone else will have one more?
God illuminates unique photons.
God illuminates unique photons. There we are. That's even getting into physics there. Okay, so I made wisdomofchopra.com. I put it up there, and how it works is actually really, really quite simple. It's got 4 what are called arrays of words and phrases, and it sticks them together roughly in this order. So it's roughly noun, verb, adjective, and then a noun. So something does something to something else, basically. So it's a slot machine, really. It's a slot machine with 4 panels. And back when, and I put that website live and did a bit of business in the skeptic blogosphere, if blogosphere is still a word. And we all had a good laugh about it, and I just left it up there, didn't really think that much of it. And then a few years later, a few months ago, people started sending me these news articles saying, Tom, you've got to go and check this out. So I saw all of these headlines. People who post inspirational quotes have lower levels of intelligence, study finds. Scientists find a link between low intelligence and acceptance of pseudo-profound bull S star star star. Study finds people who fall for nonsense inspirational quotes are less intelligent, and you can just about make out in the corner there, the unexplainable is in the midst of boundless chaos. I thought, yeah, I recognise that. So someone produced a paper, wonderfully titled, On the Reception and Detection of Pseudo-Profound Bullshit. In an academic paper, we have bullshit as an official term. And there it was on the first page. Hidden meaning transforms unparalleled abstract beauty, something that came straight from Wisdom of Chopra. So like I say, some of the language in this paper is fantastic. Whereas philosophers have been primarily concerned with the goals and intentions of the bullshitter, so someone who produces bullshit, we are interested in factors that predispose one to become, or to resist coming, a bullshitee. I think that's wonderful the way it puts that. Now, the paper defines bullshit as stuff that is pseudo-profound, stuff that makes grammatical sense but is ultimately meaningless, which by definition is anything that Wisdom of Chopra produces. So this is how the paper described what Wisdom of Chopra does. It constructs meaningless statements with appropriate syntactic structure. Yeah, fair enough, that's what it does. By randomly mashing together a list of words used in Deepak Chopra's tweet. Now, I'm prepared to accept bullshit as a technical term, but not mashing together. In the technical world, it's called string concatenation, what Wisdom of Chopra does. But just for a laugh, and this is a bit of programmer humour, I went back into the code and I wrote a function called mash together, just so that paper was technically accurate. And their primary goal is to establish a legitimate measure of bullshit receptivity. So this is what they set out to do. They set out to see if they could come up with a measure of how receptible people were to meaningless pseudo-profound nonsense. And they came up with, again, the wonderfully named bullshit receptivity, or BSR scale. So very, very simple protocol. They take a Wisdom of Chopra quote, or a quote from another generator made by a guy called Seth Pierce. For example, nature is reborn in the flow of belonging. And they ask people, how profound do you think that quote is? They asked to rate it from 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all profound and 5 being very profound. And if people answered mostly 5s, then they were considered to have a high level of bullshit receptivity. And once you've got a protocol, you can start comparing stuff. You can start comparing things. So they compared people's BSR with other things like whether they believed in ghosts or alternative medicine, that sort of stuff. But they also tested people's cognitive abilities, and they found that people who found the Wisdom of Chopra quotes, if they found them profound, they were likely to also be lower in cognitive ability. Ding, 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 ka-ching. There's your press release. There's where you get your money from the media, because there's your headline that you can put in all your newspapers. And what is quite exciting about it is that because they've established a protocol, other people can take that and run with it. So there was another study just this year, just came out about a week or two ago, which compared people's BSR scores to what they thought about conservative politicians like Trump and Cruz and Rubio and all the rest of them. I mean, if you ask me, that paper was done pretty much just for the headlines. There's no end of people who would love to say, oh, people who vote Conservative are likely to believe nonsense. So the really weird question is, well, where next? Now that you've got this protocol and you can compare it to different things, what else could you compare it to? Could you expand the protocol a bit? So there's a huge amount more to test, and I just think it's bizarre and quite fascinating how something I wrote in my living room over a weekend and just did it for a laugh has ended up as part of peer-reviewed literature. And that's it. Thank you very much.